Hello, welcome to this update for the US and Canada and also the tropics. As you might already know, there's this moderate risk of severe weather spots of Minnesota, South Dakota, into Iowa for possible derecho this evening. Yesterday it was just a slight risk, but there were already some clues that this might come, and then this appeared this morning. Let's take a look at the latest information. This was issued a few hours ago, let's check everything. Severe thunderstorms expect parts of the northern plains, the upper Mississippi Valley this afternoon and tonight. And severe storm clusters are expected to form this afternoon in South Dakota and then spread southeastward into Minnesota and Iowa through tonight. Swaths of damaging winds, potentially 75 to 90 mile per hour gusts, a few tornadoes, and isolated large hail will be all possible. So review your severe weather safe procedures for possible dangerous weather today. Stay tuned to the NOAA Weather Radio, where the gov all the media for watches and warnings. A watch means the conditions for developing severe thunderstorms over the next several hours. With severe thunderstorm warnings issued for your location, move to a place of safety, ideally in an interior room, the lowest floor of a story building. Stay safe in those areas, especially in the enhanced and the moderate risk, but especially in the moderate risk around even Sioux Falls and Munson City, spots of southern Minnesota. Stay safe in those areas. Please be careful. And here, let's see if there are any changes on this latest one. A similar thing, practically those same areas, and the slight risk goes all the way to Montana. So please be careful. The tornado threat is 5%, especially around South Dakota and to Minnesota and northwest most Iowa, and 2% around it as well. And there's like the wind is the greatest threat for the threat of a possible derecho. So like the 45% damaging wind threat and hatched. All of the 30% and 45% are hatched, and part of the 15% into the Dakota. So please be careful. Some hurricane force winds and some large hail, just 15%, but parts of Montana and also Minnesota and North Dakota, some very big hail. So stay safe in those areas. Please be careful. And here, let's just take a look. Around the northern periphery of a mid-level high covering the southern plains of southeast, a series of embedded peak maxima will progress from Montana across the Dakotas into Minnesota through early Tuesday. Elevated convection is ongoing associated with two such speed maxima over one over North Dakota, another one moving eastward over eastern Montana. At the surface, the least cyclones present over South Dakota, Nebraska border, with a barred clinic zone arcs into the northeast South Dakota, and then southeast toward across southwestern Minnesota into northern Iowa. A prior outflow boundary from this overnight convection become more diffuse with time as the result of strong surface heating across Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota, with the old cold pool and elevated convection across southern North Dakota, moving from Montana to northwest North Dakota, could persist into the post-frontal environment with weak warm advection atop the frontal surface. Steep mid-level lapse rates and 40 to 50 knot mid-level flows suggest continued threat for occasional severe outflow gusts and associated isolated large hail. For more substantial severe storm threat, expect to evolve further southeast mid late afternoon along the baroclinic zone in South Dakota and to the northeast of the Lee cyclone. Strong surface heating, continued moisture evaction, and evapotranspiration lead to development of extreme buoyancy, 3,000 to 4,500 joules per kilogram Cape beneath mixed layer of 8.5 to 9 degrees Celsius per kilometer mid-level lapse rates. Storms that form in South Dakota expect to continue into a cluster or two, subsequently spreads east southeastward along the more northwest southeast oriented baroclinic zone, now visible, noted invisible close imagery and surface observations from the southwest Minnesota into northern Iowa. The thermodynamic environment will favor both intense updrafts and downdrafts, while deep layer vertical shear will be sufficient for organized Boeing MCS. Thus, there will be the potential for swaths of significant outflow damaging gusts of 75 to 90 mile per gust, and as well as isolated large channel in a few tornadoes, either initially discrete supercells or embedded circulations within the Boeing segments. So just a recap there, but this will change. It changes all the time, especially as the storms form. Storms are always unpredictable. So please be careful. Those areas, and now as I'm speaking this, it's already early to mid-afternoon there. So some of the storms have already formed. So please be careful during the next few hours and stay safe. I saw some models mention even too close to 100 mile per gust. They do say like 75 to 90, but there's a possibility of a spot or two close to 100. So the herd does show the max gust here. This is the 6Z model run, not the 12Z that I'll show in a moment. So the 6Z model run did show like spots of Minnesota, South Dakota as this comes, and I finally got the chart in miles per hour, not kilometers. So you can see that the white starts at 74 mile per gust, and black is around 96, close to 100. So you can see some whites around here, like 75 to 80 mile per gust. There's a small section in Minnesota, like black to yellow, that's potentially close to 100 mile per gust. So those are some very isolated spots, and this is just one model run, so don't fall into that. But it's possible, and this might move into northern Iowa later with like 60 to 70 to 80 mile per gust in a few spots. And as this starts in South Dakota, it does show some initial gusts might be very damaging as well. The 12Z model run does have a similar bow echo, but it doesn't have that damaging winds. It just has like 60 to 80 mile per gust. It doesn't have 90 or 100 like the 60 did, but it does have a spot in Nebraska there with some blacks close to 100 mile per gust. So you never know, but please stay safe. The zero Z her was insane. Like the zero Z her was showing some bright yellows there, like 100 to 115 mile per gust. It was even showing like in eastern South Dakota some bright yellows, almost to like green. That was like 120 mile per gust. So the zero Z her was absolutely insane. But now since the 12Z has lowered down a little bit, I guess we'll see what happens. But just stay safe in those areas, no matter if it's 60 or 100 mile per gust, just stay safe. And then here, the 12Z itself shows like some initial storms in South Dakota start by around mid-afternoon, and then they might become supercells as some hail and tornado threat, the initial storms in Minnesota as well. So this goes there into the evening. It does show like this bow echo later into Minnesota and Iowa, and then this goes into Wisconsin, and the storms die down during the night. And tomorrow still showing a few ones in the high plains and possible severe weather. So this goes, but look what the zero Z did. So it did have these storms from last night dissipating with the outflow boundary, and then this goes, and look what it did today. The zero Z had a big derecho right for Minneapolis. Like this would cause some very damaging winds. The 6Z was like slightly weaker than the 0Z, but still a derecho. So we'll keep watching this. The 12Z is weaker than the other ones, but it still shows a dangerous scenario. So stay safe in those areas, and still shows like the escape, especially on South Dakota and to Iowa, 4,000 to 5,000 joules per kilogram. In Minnesota, some 2,000 to 3,000. So stay safe in those areas. Please be careful. The draft Halisti for large hail has two areas, one in Montana, this is some higher values, another one in central Minnesota, South Dakota, for some very big hail. So stay safe in those areas. And the significant tornado parameter late this afternoon show like doesn't show much at first by 0Z. It shows slightly more in South Dakota to like two some isolated spots a little bit more, but later by like choosy, still nothing too impressive, but does show like a few isolated spots to 3.5 or something, but still nothing that impressive. So there is a 5% tornado threat. It's nothing that humongous, but please stay safe. It's quite elevated in a few spots there. So stay safe in those areas. Be careful. And here, this is today, and then tomorrow still a slight risk from from Montana to Iowa, with less than 2% wind threat, but some wind and hail, especially in the high plains, some hail and some wind in all the areas. So severe storms are possible from southern Montana to central high plains, as well as parts of mid-Missouri, mid-Mississippi valleys on Tuesday. So be aware. On Wednesday, still a marginal risk in the northeast and the Midwest and a few scattered storms. So severe thunderstorms possible in the mid-Missouri, Mississippi Valley, recently within parts of mid-Atlantic, southern New England on Wednesday. So be aware as well, but especially today in those areas, and still some isolated dry thunderstorms on the west today and tomorrow. So be careful in case of dry thunderstorms. And here, let's see something important. So there's like this big high pressure around the southeast in those areas. In the northern periphery is where all those storms are riding around that ridge. So here for like just an update on those temperatures, still like very high around the south, the southeast and the plains are, because even Nebraska and Kansas to 104 degrees this afternoon. So please be careful. Those areas nearly 112 in Phoenix and more spots in Arizona into California. So stay safe, and still like 100 to 102 in the southeast. So stay safe. In Tampa hit 100 degrees yesterday. It was pretty historic. So please drink a lot of water and stay safe in those areas. The shows some 90s on the west on Tuesday, 110 the southwest, like still close to 100 in the southeast and central plains. So be careful. Wednesday morning slightly less, but still some 80s in Arizona, some 70s in the Midwest, Mid-South. But also Wednesday the 30th heats up in Washington to 100 and still around Texas, Oklahoma to 100 in the East Coast, especially the Southeast, some 90s. So be careful. Thursday mornings still hot during the night in the south in some areas in the southwest, and Thursday afternoon some 109 in Arizona, some 90s in Washington, spots in the mid-south, the plains. And Friday morning, slightly better, a relief for the northern Midwest, Northeast, and the Rockies, but still like Arizona and the Mid-South, some hot nights. So day 5, still like some 90s in the South, in the North, some 70s, it gets better, but still to like 108 in Arizona by Friday afternoon. Saturday morning, slightly better, but still in the South more. Like on August 2nd, on Saturday, shows like 110 in Arizona still, and some 90s in the far south, some 80s in the northeast, Midwest, but better than 90s. So be careful next Sunday still in the southwest, especially. Be careful. And here still shows like some excessive rainfall in the Midwest, right where those storms will be in the northern plains and marginally in the southwest as well. Day 2 is a similar area to where the slight risk of severe weather is tomorrow. Be careful those storms, some heavy rain. Day 3 still some heavy rain in the Midwest and this marginal in a big portion of the country. Day 4 further into New England and Mid-Atlantic, especially Mid-Atlantic, New England not really, and some spot near the Appalachians. And day 5 shows for southeast a slight risk. excessive rainfall because day 1 through 7 is showing close to 5 inches of rain between day 4 and day 7 around North Carolina to South Carolina. So we are watching that especially because some coastal disturbances might try to do something in the Atlantic, but just be aware later in the forecast some heavier rain there and still the extreme heat in those areas. So please be careful, like extreme to major. Tuesday, Wednesday, still some extreme heat risk in the southeast. Drink a lot of water and be careful the heat indices. So let's see if I find something important here. So I don't think this will help. So like here. Let's check the her if he has something for the heating the sys today. So does show like dew point here heating the sys. So it shows this afternoon. So like let's just put Monday 20s or something. I think zeros is fine. So this is the horse very like shows like 120 hitting this is 110. So this is very extreme if it happens. It might be like a little bit less than 120, but if it happens, like please be careful. And does show like in spots in the Midwest, 108 hitting this is further south in Texas, some 100s in the south. Those hitting the sea, so please be careful in those areas later by tomorrow, Tuesday. Let's see if I catch the afternoon here. So like 9 Z or something. This is still like in the morning, so 11 Z. I don't think it goes until Tuesday afternoon, but let's see like 3 Z. It's still like 3 Z, still like this evening. So yeah, still no her tomorrow, but there's the European. So shows like even today, it doesn't show as extreme as the her, but it does show like 103 hitting the southwest. If I put 0 Z like right now, not that much. So let's just put later in the afternoon to see if it shows higher. So it does show to 108 hitting the seasons in Georgia, South Carolina, 108 spots, Arkansas, Mississippi as well. So please be careful. Thursday at the same time, still some very high hitting those areas. So stay cool, and please drink water. Be careful. So as you can see, the Pacific's like very, very, very active now. So there's tropical depression 2C and Hurricane Iona. I think this is the first time the Central Pacific history seems like in the last decade. At least there are two cyclones there at once because it's very quiet. But there's Hurricane Iona, and then you just stay away from Hawaii. You just go for further west. But there's tropical depression too, and there's this other area right behind it, right? It's just 60% chance. So there's like a trail of disturbances, one behind the other. And there's this one, the Eastern Pacific, to 90% chance, right? Next 7 days. So it might form and head northwest. It might cause some stronger swells in Mexico, but still no threat to land. It shows Hurricane Iona. It might weaken, not Hurricane Iona. This is tropical depression, true. So it might turn into a tropical storm. It might dissipate later next weekend, but still no threat to land. And here shows like there's Hurricane Iona still strengthening a little bit, but for now, no major hurricane expected. But some models did pinpoint, like the HAFS-A did show a possible hurricane, major hurricane, but still nothing too crazy at this time. So we'll keep watching these other disturbances. The Atlantic still nothing, but I think we might have something somewhere around the southeast or somewhere in the main development region in the next week or so, like some disturbances. So it does show like next 240 hours, it has lost a little bit of support, like one, two, three, four, five. He has just five members showing something more than a tropical depression there. But there are more members are near Bermuda in the east coast from those low pressure systems that might form near the southeast. So we are watching those areas, and there's a wave after that in the Atlantic, but still very little support. So we might get something out of this, but still, I think the chance is low. The GFS is in the subtropical Atlantic there, but it does show two tropical waves that might try to do something, but still a low chance as well. So there's like here for s- Eastern Pacific does show a lot of support though. So this is like real support what I'm talking about in the Eastern Pacific and towards like Central Pacific. So be careful. This is the GFS. There's the European. It does show mainly everything stays away from Hawaii. These true ones like just go further west, but there's a lot of support layer in the Central Eastern Pacific. So still active there. We are watching. So be aware those areas. Now for the European model itself, just to see like some things for North Atlantic better. So let's see if it shows something important for the rainfall. Especially like because these shock waves, the worst of them is out in the Atlantic, but still there will be some storms in the Caribbean, especially southeastern Caribbean, a few spots near Cuba, Hispaniola. Does show in the next 3 days slightly higher, some 40 millimeters, a little bit more in some spots of Hispaniola. So be careful those afternoon storms. And close to 100 millimeters there, in Nicaragua, some 80 to 90, and southern Mexico, Guatemala a lot of rain there, so be careful in those areas. And if I put like further into 4 days, 5 days, the show it just changed. That's so weird. It shows even less, but yeah, the model run changed, I think. But be careful in those areas. It shows there like some storms in the Eastern Caribbean for those shock waves. So the Europeans even showing more than there in the northeastern US and spots in the Midwest. So be aware. Then yeah, so stay safe, especially those severe storms.